We're talking today with Andrew Moore, Executive Director of the National Agricultural Aviation Association. Thank you very much for speaking with me this morning. I'm very intrigued by the whole market. How big is agricultural aviation in the United States?
Well, there's a number of ways to answer that, but I'll start with the number of agricultural aviation businesses in the country. There's 1,350 aerial application businesses. They have about 2.1 aircraft per business according to our NAAA statistics. In terms of the cropland that they treat, it's about 71 million acres, and that's how they bill basically farmers by the acre. And it can range depending on what you're treating. It can go from probably $7 to $17 an acre depending on the crop and so forth. There's also another number of applications that we make, so it's not just cropland. So I said 71 million acres of cropland, but we also do pasture land, rangeland for livestock. Also, our members do forestry work for timber harvest, but also they do forest fire work, in addition to doing public health spraying, so treating for mosquitoes that might carry Zika virus or West Nile virus or other deadly human diseases. So that's kind of the scope. In addition to 1,350 businesses, there's an additional 1,430 pilots, so roughly around 3,000 ag pilots total in the country.
That's amazing. It's a huge small business. A huge pool of small businesses.
Yeah, the average, it is really a small, it's almost the stereotypical small business in a way. I mean, you've got a pilot, 2 pilots typically per operation. You have a ground crew, maybe 1 or 2 ground crew, and you have an office person to take orders. So I mean, really, the size of our businesses are 5 employees. So it's a mom and pop business, but it's not mom and pop in the sense that there's a lot of assets. So you can be, if you have 2 aircraft, and these aircraft are by far the big investment. You have the typical size aircraft is about a 500-gallon hopper. The hopper is where you carry the crop protection product or the fertilizer or the seed, whatever you're applying. And if you buy a brand new air tractor 510 or a 502 or a Thrush 510, then it's 500-gallon hoppers. You're looking at probably $1 million for the aircraft, at least. And then there's a lot of other costs when you're looking at, and that's with an engine equipped with either a Pratt & Whitney Canada turbine engine, or Honeywell also has engines, and GE, etc. But Pratt is the biggest engine supplier for turbines in the market. But you know, it's a substantial infrastructure cost. And then you have your hangar, you have your tanks where you're mixing and loading, and you also, some people retail chemical or seeds or fertilizers, whatever they're putting out. So there's some investment cost there as well, in addition to insurance costs. So,
is there any chance that you'll see consolidation in this industry, as we've seen in other industries?
We are seeing some consolidation. We're seeing a lot of retailers, agricultural retailers, so companies that you might be familiar with, Wilbur Ellis or Aurora, Helena. They typically sell crop protection products to farmers or fertilizers to farmers, seeds to farmers. They're also getting involved in offering application services, whether it's ground application services or aerial services.
Right, I was thinking like someone like a Monsanto. Why wouldn't they have like their fleet to deliver their product?
Well, actually, some of Monsanto or Bayer or BASF or Syngenta or Dow, DuPont, they will sell directly to our members to retail their chemical, but they typically don't get involved in the retail sales. They'll sell to a wholesaler.
Right, so they would never have a fleet of their own that delivers their product to the customer.
But a good question, because the Monsanto and now it's a big part of crop protection product industry is developing seeds. They're working on on genetic varieties, different genetic varieties of seeds. So they have to have seed plots. You know, you obviously have to grow the plant
right.
to harvest the seeds, to sell the seeds. And our members do a lot of work for seed sales,
right.
for Monsanto, for the other crop protection product manufacturers. So
if we look, let's say 5 years out in this industry, and given the fact that it is such like a mom and pop operation, what do you see this industry looking like 5 years from now?
It's a good question. I think that a lot of our industry is dependent on commodity prices, and we are seeing commodity prices. What I mean, commodity prices, you know, cost of corn, the cost of soybeans, cost of cotton, cost of crops. We've seen some of the big crops like corn, soybeans, and the like. The prices have dropped a little bit, but one thing that is growing in our industry or growing on the planet is the population. So you always hear we're at about 7+ billion people on the planet. That's going to go up to about 8+ billion by 2030, 9 billion by 2050, perhaps even as high as 10 billion in 2100. And then you add to that a growing middle class. You have about a middle class in the planet that's about 2+ billion people, growing to 4 billion. Now, why I mention that is middle class. Now you're starting to get into more sophisticated foods, more protein-rich foods, whether it's meats or dairy, which requires more crops. So that really is going to result in a huge demand, a huge growing demand for crops, whether it's just for your fruit and vegetable side of your plate or the grain side of your plate, or for the glass of milk or the cheese or the protein on your plate. Huge growing market, and I think that's going to result in a growing demand for modern agricultural production, the ability to maximize your yields on the number of acres that you're treating. And one way to do that is the judicious use of crop protection products, precision agriculture, and speedily treating any type of pest infestation or what have you. And that's where aerial application is so important.
Okay, last question then. If we look at that kind of scenario, what do we see in aviation or aerospace technologies 5 years from now that's different than what we have today?
I think you'll see it's probably going to be a gradual efficiency for one. I mean, you're seeing turbine engines just becoming more efficient with fuel resources, safer. Maybe the payload of an aircraft will be larger. I know one manufacturer, Air Tractor, the largest ag aircraft on the market is called the Air Tractor 802. They're looking at a model that would be called the 1002, over 1,000 gallon hour. So you're looking at building efficiencies. And then you're looking at precision agriculture, where before you'd just be making a constant rate application over a field, but now with thermal imaging, aerial imaging, crop sensing, photography, you can take pictures of the field before you're going to make an application, and you can use software to allow you to put more prescribed doses, variable rates of application material on a crop, as opposed to one flat rate. So you're building efficiencies there, which you might be saving in crop protection product costs. You'll be saving in fuel costs because you can cover more acres in one load because you're using less carrier material. So it's just building on efficiencies that have started over time. But I think aerial imaging and precision agriculture will grow. Especially, it's going to take off even more as you see if commodity prices grow, because farmers will need to be ensured that they're going to have more profit if they're going to use that technology. So
that's great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.